It's no secret here at What's It Like that I'm a huge fan of Vampire Survivors and its incredibly addictive gameplay loop. So around 6 months ago, when I was approached to review Vampire Hunters from Gamecraft Studios on Steam, I had to regretfully decline as I'm Switch exclusive. Last week though, Vampire Hunters has made the leap to Switch and I've been fortunate enough to give it some solid game time this week. What's it like? Grab some garlic, select your hero, and we need guns. Lots of guns. As we review Vampire Hunters on Nintendo Switch. Normally, this is a part of the video where I'd ask you to like and subscribe, but instead I wanted to talk about Movember. What's It Like is throwing its support behind my good friend Archie, who is leading the charge for Movember, which aims to take on mental health issues, suicide, prostate cancer, and testicular cancer. If you would like to know more or want to donate to his campaign, click on the card that's just popped up on your video. Now, let's get back to it. Vampire Hunters is a roguelike, first-person survival arena shooter, and while it may take inspiration from both Doom and Vampire Survivors, it is a unique game that shows all of your upgrades on screen, resulting in a hilarious amount of stackable firepower on display. You collect orbs to level up, select your new power up, and hopefully build a deadly combo to see you through to the end of the level. Each level concludes by giving you a final objective like shutting down enemy portals, escaping in a balloon, or activating a Sphinx at the 30-minute mark. The gameplay is fast and chaotic, and most importantly, ridiculously fun. It's one of those games that hooks you with the just one more turn mentality, and it's very hard to put down. Weapons have unique elements, damage, and upgrades that complement relics that you can get by leveling up or defeating the bosses, which spawn in higher numbers the longer the level goes on. You'll also have secondary weapons and crowd control weapons, so there's a lot of strategy involved in choosing which relic may benefit what build and overall survivability. Levels can be progressed without hitting that 30-minute mark as well, meaning that you can have a change of scenery until you get strong enough to beat the level. Coming back and polishing off the level is extremely satisfying and feels really rewarding. The progression loop is what kept me going back into the fold, with each hero having different stats and special moves that you can improve on, as well as speccing into relics in your skill tree that enhance various stats. It all sounds like a lot to take in, but it feeds the satisfaction of growing more powerful with each run. Speaking of which, there are achievements which you can also lock in the run, which unlock more weapons and relics to use on your next run, and that keeps the gameplay fresh and exciting, and players will benefit from unlocking all heroes and abilities to get the most out of the game. It's also clear that there's been a drastic change in the game during development following this new survival type arena gameplay, but Gamecraft Studios saw fit to include the first build of the game in the package, giving players a look at its original corridor-style shooting gameplay, which is a fully complete game in its own right. The original version will see you running down an endless corridor to escape a poisonous gas while shooting your way through increasingly difficult hordes of enemies. This game also features its own set of unlocks to achieve too, boosting the longevity of the entire package. The art style uses a PS1 era looking engine, giving it a retro feel with its low poly enemies and texture styles, and starts off running at 60 frames a second. The frames do drop, however, the more the levels progress, which will still stay playable for the most part. The biggest performance drops happen at around the 30-minute mark, where enemy portals set out a constant stream of assets that can make the gameplay run in slow motion. Thankfully, this still doesn't manage to detract from the fun of the game, and the final minutes of the map are usually a quick, mad dash for freedom. Later levels seem to be affected a bit more, as they usually introduce a more robust and intricate enemy type. Each level also has its own unique enemies to defeat, as well as mixing some from other levels. And bosses in particular are exciting to fight and hunt down, with some dragons that scale the walls outside the level while hurling flames at you. The game does run in a significantly lower resolution on handheld, giving it a more pixelated look, and I feel that this is due to the Switch's dynamic resolution to maintain frames. Here's hoping that we'll see a performance patch in the future. There was also one other odd issue that really stood out with the game, and that's that it only seems to be compatible with Joy-Cons. I was unable to use my Pro Controller, Power A, or even my cracked Neo while docked, and then in handheld, I was unable to use my Nitro deck at all. I'm not sure why this was, and hopefully it'll be fixed in a future update, but you will need your Joy-Cons to play this game. For my Vampire Hunters looking into accessibility, I'm pleased to report that Vampire Hunters has more accessibility options than it has guns, which means more people can play this amazing game. There are gameplay options like having auto fire on all weapons, automatic reloading, auto level up of character stats, and reduced recoil animations. There's also visual options like changing your weapon scale and positioning, merging weapons together to open up the screen, highlighting enemies with a specific coloured outline, and changing hit feedback to reduce flashing. You can also disable the chromatic aberration for a clearer picture and reduce head bob as well. It's so amazing to see indie devs take the charge in opening up games for everyone, and Vampire Hunters has one of the most comprehensive set of options that I've ever seen while reviewing games. Kudos to Gamecraft Studios on their approach to accessibility. At $22.50 Australian, Vampire Hunters is an incredible package that will provide 20 plus hours of action-packed gameplay. The performance issues may bother some, but for me it didn't hamper the chaotic fun of being a one-man tower defense army, mowing down hordes of monsters in a screen full of guns. The weapon combinations and individual progression paths mean completionists will have a lot to tackle should they wish to do so, and the retro look gives Vampire Hunters its own unique charm. Vampire Hunters is an outstanding game of action-packed fun that's an easy recommendation for fans of shooters and vampire survivors alike. So, what's it like? Vampire Hunters is like Vampire Survivors crossed with Doom. I award it an 86 out of 100. In the interest of full disclosure, a review copy was provided by the developer, but this doesn't influence my score. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The best way that you can support What's It Like is by liking and subscribing. And for the month of November, I'm donating all my channel earnings to my good friend Archie's Movember campaign. So if you've just watched this video, you're already doing your part.